Hello and how are you? My name is Mahindo Mbarak and I welcome you to our third video of learning how to create web applications using Laravel. In yesterday's video, or in the previous video, we got introduced to GitHub and looked at why we need Git and GitHub and created our first repository with GitHub. If you did not watch that video and you're still amateur to GitHub, I really recommend you to go and watch the second video and get introduced to GitHub and implement it. It will be very important and useful to you when you're doing your web or your programming experience. In today's video, I'm going to proceed from how I stopped in the previous video, whereby we are going to resume with our Laravel project and take it from where we had left it. So I hope you're ready to do this with me. If you are, then let's get started. So in today's video, we are going to cover routes. We're going to look what's meant by route and also parameters of route, named parameters, and if time allows, we'll go ahead and look at controllers and then get introduced to views and Laravel Blade. Okay, so we have a lot of things to put together. So let's go straight into business, okay? So I'm going to go to our project. I can either come to Visual Studio Code and I'll find our project here, which is eblog, okay? So that is one of how I can open my project, or I can simply come to our GitHub software and look for our our project, which we called, how did we call it? We called it Laravel News Project, this one here. So I can say open in Visual Studio Code. That is also another way of how you can open your project. Or the other way, you can just simply go manually into your folder, which is under GitHub, under eblog, and then drag and drop that project into your into your Visual Studio Code. That is also another way of how we can do it. We can open the project. So once we have our project opened, so the next thing is we're now going to do what? We're now going to proceed from where we stopped at. So let me go ahead and run the project. So I'll just simply open my terminal by simply clicking here and say new terminal, and then we run the project. So to run the project will be php artisan serve. Okay, and then our project will do what? We'll start running on that on that on that, what is it saying again? What is it saying? Let me restart it. Sorry, it's supposed to be this one. Okay, it will start running on this IP. So if I open the project, if I press Ctrl and I click on this IP address, you'll be able to see our project there up and running. That is very good. Okay, so let's go ahead and proceed with our Laravel project. So the first thing that we're going to look at is called routes. So routing, in simple terms, I'll not define everything as it is in the definition. By the way, there's a very good documentation of Laravel itself, so you can simply come and go through the documentation for more details of what I'll be teaching you. So this is a simple definition of route and the introduction of routing. So let me define it in a simple way, or in a layman's way. Routing is a way how we can handle the links that come to our project. So if someone goes maybe to stroke a certain thing, so how we receive that link that has come to our project, or what we call the URL, it is, and redirect to what the user should see, or decide what the user should see, which view we should display on screen. That process of getting the link and then display it on screen. For example, if I come here to our project, this project of ours, and I say stroke maybe shop. Okay, let's say stroke shop. So you can see they say this page was not found. So for us to be able to catch this link and do something about it, is that process, and maybe display or redirect or do anything, is what we call routing. So routing in Laravel, it is handled in two ways. There is a route of an API, so that is when you're implementing an API of Laravel, and we'll come to that later. And also there's a route of web, the one that you're going to work with most, the one that comes maybe when someone tries to access your project using Using the browser. So that web routing is the second one, or the second of how you can implement routes. So to implement, to access the routes, so you'll just simply come to your project and then come to routes. You'll see a folder there called routes. It is here. So you'll just simply come and click on this web route. So in this web route, you'll get the introduction. Here is where you register your web routes for your application. These routes loaded, etc. Okay. Yeah, they'll explain to you. So you can delete this comment if you want. Okay. So, and they'll give you an example of a what? Of a route. So you can see the default route is this one when you have a /, okay, on your project. Let's say like when there is nothing on your project, it's just like this, it will take you to the what? To the default route. So if you want to add another route, okay, let us say maybe about us page, okay. So what do? You can use the same thing to do what? To implement route. So I can just simply come here and say route, and then put colon and say get. So I'll explain what's meant by get and what's meant by post. Then you open like this and then put a semicolon at last. So the first, this one takes mainly 2 parameters, okay? This route that I've written here, it mainly takes 2 parameters. So the first parameter, remember we're in web routes, okay? So the first parameter that it takes the location or the string of a location that you want to listen to when someone comes to your website, okay? So that's the first parameter. So the second parameter that it takes the function or a function that you want to execute when someone reaches your website. For example, I can create the route of about us, okay? So if I say someone comes here to stroke about us, we should show him maybe about us page. So to do that, as I said, it will take 2 things. The first thing, route get, it will take the parameter, the name of the parameter. So I can say about then us like this, okay? About us. So the second thing, it will take now the function that should be executed, that will be executed when someone reaches here, or what you can call action. So let us create that function. So you just simply write function, okay? Then you open bracket and close it, and then come outside this bracket and open the curly bracket and close it, and then press enter. So here, it is where we're going to put our code that we want to be executed when someone's come to about us, stroke about dash us. So if I come here to stroke about us like this, stroke about us like this, and I press enter, you'll see I'm able to see a blank page. Why am I seeing a blank page? It did not show me that the page was not found, but at least it can show me that I'm seeing a blank page. Why? Because I've not returned anything, or because I've not displayed anything, okay? So this is how we access, we put a condition, we put a listener to a certain endpoint. So maybe I can now go ahead and display something and say, echo, this is about us page, okay? And put a semicolon. So if I save, I'll be able to see this is about us page. That is beautiful. You can echo, you can as well return it, okay? You can as well return it. I think that's the best way. So you see, this is about us page. So that is how we do routing, okay? That's how we do routing. So you can as well do contact us page, contact like this. So if someone clicks on contact us page, you can see this page was not found. So if you want to create a contact us page, I can just simply duplicate this one and then come and say contact then dash us. Okay, contact us page, and then say this is contact us page. You see? So you can copy and paste and do the same thing. So you can see it is very simple like that to route pages, okay? So that is how we route different pages. So there can be as many routes as you want. Okay, so if someone removes everything, it will show him the default route, which is this one. Okay, so that is what meant by what? By routing. So with that introduced to routing, we can look at different types of routing. We have the one of post, the one of get, the one of delete. But those ones, we'll look at them in the future videos where I will have understood these basic ones. So you can go ahead and read details about routes here on the documentation of Laravel in the section of routes here. You can go and read much more deep, but don't confuse yourself. Okay, so that is all you need about getting introduced to routes. Okay, so that's how you can listen to different links. Okay, so we proceed. So the next thing that we're going to look at is the named routing. Named routing, I'll give an example in future when we proceed. So you can name this route, okay? So you can name this route by just simply putting something like this and say name, okay? So maybe you want to call this route later. I will show you how you can call it by name. So you can simply say maybe contact, okay? So when you proceed, I will show you how you can call this route by what? By name. So I think you can just simply come here and just put something like this and then say route and then put and pass here the name of this route. No, I think it's route. Route is small letter like this and then pass the name of this route, contact. Okay, so you see I'm just putting here a link and try to see what will display, okay, contact us page. So I just put the route, I'm concatenating the word route and the what and the what and the link, okay, and the name of the route. You see, just simply put the name of the name route and the name of the route, which is contact. Let us see what it will display to us. So if I come to our project and I go to contact, about us, okay, so you can see it has created for us the link of this route. Let me come again. Let me explain this again. I say that you can name the route. You can give route a name so that when you proceed in future, you can simply reference to this route with no hassle or with no too much pain. And if in case you change anything in your route, you'll be able to everything will be able to update itself even without you manually changing everything. So to name a certain route, you just simply add this parameter and say name, and then you give it a name. So after you have named it later, you can reference to it, or you can call it or anywhere. And then it will be the task of Laravel to look for the correct link of that route and display it and put it there for you. For example, here I have just simply say route and then give a name contact. So it's going to create for us a relevant link for any route that has a link of, the name of what? Of contact. So if you see here how I've done it, so I'll just say return, then route, then the name of contact like this in small letters. So if I come and refresh, you can see I'm able to get the link of what? Of contactors. Okay, a correct one. So that is a better way of how you can call routes. So I can as well give this one a what? A name also. I can give this one a name and I call it maybe about. So it means that if I come here and put about instead, what will happen? It will give me a correct link for about. So even though this link is complicated, this route, this naming can help us to reference it. So even though maybe we update this later, maybe I just call this one, even if you update it, let me say, for example, this contact, instead of contact us, I change it to contact. So in future, it will automatically update. So that is why we name what? Why we name routes. So route naming is also important. It helps you to, if you use it, it helps you to update without pain, and the whole project will update the links without even, or the endpoints or the routes without updating the entire without changing the entire page. So that is the routes naming. So you proceed, you look at route parameters. So with routes, you can as well pass the parameters, okay? You can pass the parameters. For example, let us say we want to create an endpoint where we can give details about the news, okay? So I can create another route and I call it maybe news details, something like this. So if I say news details, so let us go ahead and just display and say we display news details page, okay, like this, okay? So if I save it like that, and then I come to our project, and then I put stroke news details, okay? So you can see news details page. So, when you're going to news, it means that you may need to provide, when you're reading news details, it means that you may need to provide a unique thing that can show the details of that particular news. For example, we may need to provide an ID. So you can identify that news post and display it, the one that the user has requested. For example, when you are doing what? When you are displaying, let's say, a profile of someone, so it means that you can have so many users with different profiles, but when you want to display a specific user profile, it means that on that particular page, you may need to identify it with what? With an ID. So that's how we passing the route names, passing the parameters through the links becomes very, very handy and important. So if I want to do something like this, maybe I want to pass stroke a certain news ID. So to do that, it means that here in the routes link, you will have to say, I'm going to expect an ID. So to do that, you just simply put stroke, and then you put this parameter like this, and you can call it ID, something like this, like ID. So it means that this link will accept even someone to add a / and then pass a specific ID. So if I come and refresh without an ID, it will do what? It will give me an error. Why? Because I don't specify the specific ID. So I'll have to specify an ID by putting / and maybe say 25. So when I do like that, you see, it will be able to do what? To show me that particular news page. If I give maybe stroke 100, you see, it will be able to do what? So what you should know that it is now dynamic, that this ID can change, but as long as in this format that we expect, it does not do what? It is still displaying what you want. So I hope you've understood that. This one is very important when you're dealing with individual pages. Maybe you're displaying the detail of a certain page, I hope you've seen something like this. For example, when you're seeing someone's profile on Facebook, it will be whatever facebook.com /profile/ and then the ID of that particular news post or whatever thing. Or it can be a slug, like those who know WordPress, it does things in this way. So that is how you can do that. So if you now want to receive this ID in your function, so you can be able to work with it, here you just simply put what? You just simply put the name of how you want to receive it. For example, I can say maybe ID. So if I come here and I concatenate it with ID, maybe details for post, and then I say maybe this like this, okay? So it's going to display for me the ID. So if I come and refresh, you can see news details for post and then the ID. So if I can say maybe 100, of course it will just show 100. If I can say maybe 430, something like that. So anything that you want, it can be able to receive it. So you can as well make it more and more interesting by adding more what? More parameters. Okay, more parameters. Maybe ID, maybe blog or whatever. Okay, so that is how you can pass the parameters through the what? Through the link, and you receive it under the function, and then you receive it like this. So that is how you do it. You do receive, or that's how you do the dynamic parameters, okay, or what you call optional parameters. So in what? In Laravel. So what have we looked at? We have looked at, I've got introduced to routes, what's meant by routing, where you can find routes. We have also looked at how you can create routes, how you can create functions that listen to route. We've looked at how you can name a certain route. We've looked at how you can reference a named route. We've also looked at how you can do what? How you can display the news details. A detail of a certain what? Of a certain route. Of a certain endpoint by passing the parameters, or what we call the dynamic parameters, through the link, and how you can also receive it. So that is how you can deal with that. So I hope you understand, and if you don't understand, you're free to pause the video or go back to see that you don't skip any point. So that is very important. So let us proceed. So with that much said, now we can proceed to something called controllers, okay? So controllers is also another Another what? Another important thing in Laravel, or what we call in MVC. So if you've heard of architecture called MVC, Model View Controller, so you're now on what we call the controller. So the controller is the one that is the back end, or a certain point where you can write the whole logic before you display something on the screen. For example, if someone wants to maybe see someone's profile, so before you display someone's profile, you want to do the logic if this profile is blocked or not. You want to do the logic of maybe getting the friends of this person. You want to do the logic of getting maybe the likes of this person. You want to do the logic, like doing so many logics before you display something. So with Laravel, it gives you that ability and getting your code to be organized in a specific place. And you do that first before you display the HTML. So that's what we call what? That's what we call controllers. So a controller, in fact, it is, I mean, in simple terms, it will be just an interface between the request and the view, or it will be an interface between what the user is requesting to see, and then before you see it, the logic that you first do is what we'll be putting in what? In controller. So to create a controller, you can use a command. So you can just simply come and search Laravel controllers. So you can find the details about Laravel controller on the Laravel page, on the Laravel documentation, full detail of what of a certain control, of what's meant by controllers. So many things that you can do with controller. But at this point, by the way, another thing that is very important is what is a resource. Let me note it down. I'd forgotten a resource. After controller, we looked at something called resource. Okay, so let's go straight and create our first controller. So to create a controller, it is very simple. You just simply run this command. Okay, you just simply run this command. Okay, so or you can find here the controllers. You'll find controllers here and up under HTTP, and then you'll see controllers. The controller and then controllers will be here. So you can duplicate this very controller and create your own, or you can run a command that will help you to create a controller. You can do this. You can either use this default one to create your own controller, or you can run a command that can create for you what? A controller. For example, I want to create a controller maybe for news. So if I want maybe about the news, maybe someone want to share the news, maybe someone to comment on a news post, I can create for them a specific controller. I can create a controller maybe for authentication. For example, a controller for login, a controller for create account, a controller that will deal with authentication. I can create a controller for admin. So once someone is logged in, so everything that is protected, we can put them in one controller. So this controller, you can use it for many things, and you can use it just creatively. But the whole point, it keeps a code that is about a particular thing in a same place, and it helps to do some logic before it displays something. So let's go ahead and create our first controller. As I told you, you can either use this default controller that comes with Laravel, duplicate it and then manipulate it, or you can create your own controller. So let me go ahead and create our own controller using the command. So what for me I always do, I always put here my file called important command. So I can create a new file and call it important commands.txt. It's just a simple text file. You don't need it, but it helps me to put there maybe some command that I don't want to memorize and keep on repeating all the time, okay? So I can put, for example, PHP artisan, make controller, and then you put the controller name, okay? So I'm going to call a controller called maybe news controller, or I can say maybe post controller. So I can call news post controller, something like that. So anything that you may want to call it, okay? So, but make sure that your controller name begins the capital letter because it's going to be a class, and it is in common case like that, okay? And then it is good practice to always put the word controller at last. So I can copy that, and then I'm going to open our terminal by pressing Alt and tilde The tilde button is the button under escape button. So you press Alt and tilde button. This is the tilde button, this one. Can you see that? So if I press Alt and tilde, it will bring me my server. So don't stop this server, but we need a second terminal, okay? So don't stop the server because this project will stop if you stop the server. What I just need a second terminal. So if you need a second terminal, you can as well click on this plus to get the second terminal, or you can press Ctrl and Shift and the tilde. It will create for you the second terminal. So you have here the terminal that is working as your server, and you have the second terminal. So I'm going to go ahead and run this to create another controller. So I'll copy that and then I paste it here. Okay, it's called news post controller. Okay, news controller, whatever post, anything. Okay, but the whole point here is I want this one to act as the logic where we'll have maybe the logic about the news. Okay, so I'll go ahead and press enter. Okay, so when you press enter, they'll tell you that your controller has been created successfully, and then they show you the folder where it has been created. So you can press Ctrl and click on it, press Ctrl and hold and click on it to go straight to that controller, or you can navigate to it by just simply coming to your files and then come to app and then come to HTTP and then come to controllers, and then you'll find your controller there. So that is how we create what? We create controllers. So as I told you, let us create maybe the second controller that is maybe, I can call it main controller, maybe that will deal with everything, okay? Main controller, maybe that will deal with the about us page, etc. Let us create the controller, the second controller that will be deal with this one. We'll use it when maybe we are working with news, details, etc. So let us go ahead and create another controller. Maybe I can call it main controller, the one that will be dealing with everything. So I open the terminal, I clear screen, and then I paste and press enter. So you see our second controller have been created. So you have two controllers, okay? So I'm going to put here maybe the controller that will deal maybe with the home page. So to do that, it will be nothing but adding there what? A public function. So just simply write public function, and then give the name of the function. So I can call this one maybe index, meaning that it will be the main, maybe the main page. So I can call it index, and then I put it like that, and then open curly bracket and put this one like this. But you can give the name, this function name, anything. So I can put maybe die here and say this is index. Okay, maybe this is home. I can just simply return. Maybe I can say this is index from controller. Okay, I can say maybe from main controller. So it means that this one, it is the place where I'll be doing the whole logic before I display maybe the index page. Okay, so after doing that, I can create another controller, and maybe I call it maybe about us controller. So since a function, I can just say about then underscore us. Don't put a dash here or a hyphen. It has to be maybe underscore. So I can say this is the about us maybe I say this and index. Okay, this is about us from maybe the main controller. I can maybe say contact and create another one. But this one you can create them as you create the project. Maybe contact us, okay? I just say contact us, and I say this is contact us from the main controller. So it means that we will have to do here our own PHP before we display anything. It means that on top here, we'll have to do your own PHP before you display anything. Also here, you can do your own PHP before you display anything. You get it, eh? So after doing that, so the next thing is now to link this with routes, okay? So this is nothing but plain PHP. So the next thing we'll have to link this one with routes. So that route should call this particular item or be this particular function, so it can do the logic before it displayed anything. So by doing like this, our code will be in very good order or well organized. So let us go back to our routes. So we press Ctrl and Tab key to navigate like this. Press Ctrl and Shift to navigate through this open file. So let me go to our routes of web with this one, and I want the index one. So instead of returning view, I'm just going to reference the what? The controller. So how do you reference the controller? I hope I still remember. What you do, instead of writing the function, you just simply open an array like this, square brackets, and then the first thing you put the controller class, okay? So I can say main controller, main, what was the name? Was it main post controller? Oh my God, it was supposed to be main controller. Can you rename it? I hope so. Rename. So the name of the file must be the same of the name of the what? Of the class. So I'll call this one just main controller, as simple as that, not main post controller. And then come on, also rename here. I've just renamed it, okay? So come now to the web routes and just simply open the curly bracket instead of function, open the square brackets and put main and then say controller like this and then put class, the word class like this. So after doing like that, then here you put a comma and then open another double quote, a quote, and then put here the function that you want to call. So here I want to call the index function. So I just simply say index in small letters because I know this index is inside here, inside this controller. So you just simply, so if I press Ctrl and click on it, it will take me to the what? To the index, okay? So that's why you know that everything is well connected. So you see, now things are becoming much more clean than the way they are at first. So if I come here and refresh on our home page, let us go to home page. Can you see? Boom. This is index from the main controller. So it means that this one will deal with routing only. It will not deal with any rubbish. And the controller is the one that will deal with the logic of maybe doing everything before it does what? Before it displays. Okay, so here I can do maybe check, do my query, do everything before I do what? Before I display. So let's go ahead and create and also link this about us to the main controller. So I'll just simply come and remove the function. So instead of manually putting the function, maybe I can just, okay, let me leave this one for you, maybe to practice without look at the code. Okay, let me leave this about us there. Let me comment it. And then I do now the real about us, which is going to reference from controller. So you see now, instead of writing all these number of lines, I can as well just duplicate this guy and then put here about us, and then put the main controller and then just simply put maybe about underscore us. So this one is going to call the about us function that is inside this main controller, this guy here. So if you press Ctrl and hold and click on it, it will take you to this, okay? So that is it. We have successfully implemented that. So if I come and refresh and come and say stroke about dash us, you can see this is about us from the main controller. So you can learn that, oh, really things are well connected. So we proceed. Let us finish the remaining one by putting the details controller. I mean, maybe let us put maybe the contactors. Yeah, the contactors. Okay, so let us put the contactors. So you see how things are becoming much more clean. So I can just simply put here contactors. So you can as well test it, and you can see this is the contactors page from maybe main controller. So I can as well delete these ones, okay? For example, you can delete these ones, but I'm going to leave them for you for practicing. And you can see now our controller is becoming much more what? Much more clean than how it was at first, okay? So everything is doing its own business. I mean, our route is doing the routes business. The controller is doing the other business of maybe doing the logic before it displays anything on screen. So that is how we deal with what? With controllers in Laravel. So you can learn much more about controllers on Laravel. Laravel documentation. Okay, just come and learn about controllers. Okay, so the other thing that I may need to show you is the resource, but the resource is not very important at this moment. I'll show you the resource in future when you proceed to maybe the form details. So resource is nothing but something that will perform, that will receive the get and the post. So since we are not looking at the post, the resource is not important at this moment. It will just confuse you. But get the whole point that this is how you create routes, and that is how you link the routes with what? With controllers. Okay, and you need controllers to do what? To connect your pages. So with that much said, we proceed to the next topic, which is going to be a very important topic, which is the topic of views. So it is very important to know that Laravel separate concerns. As you can see, routes is independent and the controllers are also independent. So also the HTML that you're going to show on this on screen, they are also independent. Okay, they are also independent. So things that will be showing in to the user, it is recommended that you also make them totally independent from mixing it with maybe the main code or with PHP. So those things that we display to the screen, to the users, maybe like the whole page or the whole website, is what we call views, or we write them in a section called view. So in that view, it is where you put the logic, like what someone should see, like the user interface, the HTML, everything as just the way it sounds. A view is what you put in what? I mean, things that users see is the what we put in what? In the view. So I'm going to show you how we create views in Laravel, okay? So to create a view in Laravel, this is what we do, okay? We put views in this section, okay? But by the way, you can learn much more details about views in the Laravel documentation. So to put views, we just simply come under resources, okay? So views will be under your project, under resources, okay? And then under views. This is where we'll find things called views. If you still remember, we had something that was showing on our homepage that we didn't know where it is coming from. This was called a welcome view, and this is where it is, okay? So we're going to create our own view and put there and decide what we should put there or what the user should see on the screen. So to create your own view, for example, here I'm going to create maybe the default view or the index view. So you will have to create it with an extension of Blade. Blade is a technology of Laravel that we use to simply combine HTML with what? With Laravel or with PHP. And we'll go much more deep into that Blade in the next video. But for now, just know we use Blade to display data or to display things on what? On the website, and it is mixed up with Laravel and PHP. So, I mean, with HTML and PHP or with HTML and Laravel. So let's go ahead and create our first view. So I'm going to create an index view, right? So to create an index view, I'll just simply right click here and say new file, okay? New file, and I'm going to call this one index.blade. So always remember to put blade and then put .php. So this file is going to be treated like what? Like a blade file. So I can now come here and say this is a index from Blade. Okay, so as you can see, this is going to be just HTML. It's going to be nothing but HTML. Okay, so let's go ahead and display this view. Okay, so to display this view, we'll just simply come to our web route here, and then we are going to come here to the, to display this index view,